A crowning achievement of the historic March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech, was pushing through the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965. Recognizing the history of racist attempts to prevent black people from voting, that federal law forced a number of southern states to adhere to federal guidelines allowing citizens access to the polls. But in 2013, the Supreme Court effectively gutted many of these protections. As a result, states are finding new ways to stop more and more people, especially African Americans and other likely Democratic voters, from reaching the polls. Several states are requiring government-issued photo IDs, like driver's licenses, to vote, even though there's no evidence of the voter fraud this is supposed to prevent. But there's plenty of evidence that these ID measures depress voting, especially among communities of color, young voters, and lower-income Americans. Alabama, after requiring photo IDs, has practically closed driver's license offices in counties with large percentages of black voters. Other states are reducing opportunities for early voting. And several state legislatures, not just in the South, are gerrymandering districts to reduce the political power of people of color and Democrats, and thereby guarantee Republican control in Congress. Here's one way they do it. Now, here are 16 black dots and 12 white squares. If districts were not gerrymandered, they might look like this, and 3 out of 4 would have black dot majorities. But after gerrymandering, 3 out of 4 have white square majorities. We need to move to the next stage of voting rights, a new Voting Rights Act that renews the law that was effectively repealed by the conservative activists on the Supreme Court, and also sets minimum national standards, providing automatic voter registration when people get driver's licenses, allowing at least 2 weeks of early voting, and taking districting away from the politicians and putting it under independent commissions. Voting rights are too important to be left to partisan politics. We must not allow anyone's votes to be taken away.
Well, I agree absolutely with Robert Reich. How y'all doing this afternoon, evening? It is a wonderful day for a Bernie Sanders rally. And he is, well, the rally's going, people are cheering. We're going to grab News Universe feed here. And Bernie Sanders is in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And voter fraud, voter suppression, I should say, is the topic because we're seeing it happen all over the place. And there are a lot of people that can say, well, that's just what happens. And every election, there's people that scream out voter suppression. But I disagree. And even if that is the case, I've never seen it this bad. And for the first time in the history of this democracy, really in the modern era, Americans actually give a shit. Vast majority of them on either side of the aisle it give a shit about the voter suppression. Because it's wrong. It's wrong. Unfortunately, what we're frustrated with most, everybody, and hi, how you doing every day? Who else we got here? We got Els and Eric, and hi, Eric, and Anita Kay, and Zox Ovox, and Susan Brown, and Candy Lastar. Hi, nice to meet you. Sentient Species. John Crab 67, or what is it? Yeah, John Crab 67. I should have brought my glasses in. They're out there. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. We got a rally happening. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the voter suppression, because I know everybody's pissed off. And here's what we were talking about earlier today. Right? The only way we're going to be able to fix it outside of an outright storm the castle, all right, which we're not to that point yet. I'm the radical revolutionary. I'm the one who wants to just storm the castle. We're not there, all right. Bernie's message to us. Maybe I should just skip to Bernie's message to us. And by the way, I am paying attention here to the News Universe feed and what's going on here and where we are at with audio. Here, I'll yeah, can hear him cheering. Yeah, they're just jamming out. Did he show up already? Maybe he just showed up. Hey, good timing. Let's go to Bernie. Damn. I love it when it works out this way.
I see a political revolution taking place. Let me thank Alexandria Khalil and Drew Ruffin for their introductions. And let me begin by reading to you something very interesting. I just saw it a few minutes ago. It was an article in the New York Times this afternoon quoting a great son of Pennsylvania, Vice President Joe Biden. This is what the article says. It says that Joe Biden remains neutral in the battle between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Well, that's all right. Let's read the rest of the article here. But not between their campaign styles. He'll take Mr. Sanders' aspirational approach over Mrs. Clinton's caution any day. It says, quote, I like the idea of saying we can do much more because we can, Mr. Biden said in an interview. I quote, I don't think any Democrats ever won saying, quote, we can't think that big. We ought to really downsize here because it's not realistic, he said in a mocking tone. Come on, man. This is the Democratic Party. I'm not part of the party that says, well, we can't do it, end of quote. I think the Vice President, born and raised in Scranton, I think the Vice President is exactly right. That is what this campaign is about. That's right. It is about having the courage to face the reality of American life today. Understand that reality is not always a pleasant reality, but have the courage to take on the special interests who are preventing us from going forward. So I think the Vice President is exactly right. And when we talk about what's going on in this campaign, the reason that we have come so far. Remember, when we began this campaign, we were 60 points behind Secretary Clinton. In the last several weeks, a number of polls have come out, and several of them have us ahead of Secretary. In national matchup polls between Clinton and myself and the Republican candidates, we are beating Trump in almost every national state. In the last CNN poll, we were 20 points ahead of Donald Trump. And let's talk about what aspirational means. Not a word that I usually use, but what it means is having the courage to envision a nation in which we fulfill the potential that we know we have as a people. It means that we end a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy elections. You know, democracy is not a complicated concept. It's called one person, one vote. It's not about billionaires buying elections. And when we talk about having the courage to address the real issues facing our people, it is about understanding that today we have a rigged economy. So thinking big is not really that radical. What it says is we are going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. It means, and what this campaign excites me so much about is people all over the country who are now prepared to think outside of the box, outside of the status quo, outside of what the media wants you to think is acceptable. Today, in our economy today, listen to this, the top 1/10 of 1%, you got that? 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. The wealthiest 20 people in America own more wealth than the bottom 150 million Americans. Don't tell me that we cannot afford to rebuild our crumbling cities. Don't tell me we cannot afford to create the jobs that we need. We can afford to do that, but we have got to stand up to the billionaire class and tell them they cannot have it all. And this campaign is also about dealing with a painful reality that some would prefer to sweep under the rug, but I will not do that, and that is a broken criminal justice system. Brothers and sisters, we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native Americans. That is not acceptable. Together we're going to change it. That is what this campaign is about. It's not complicated. It is looking the reality of America straight in the eye and saying we can and will do much better. Let me take a minute to talk about some of the major differences that exist between Secretary Clinton and myself. Issue number one. If you believe, as I believe, that one of the great crises of our country is a corrupt campaign finance system, then understand the differences between our Secretary Clinton and I have raised the funds we need to run our campaigns. When we began this campaign 11 and a half months ago, we had to make a fundamental decision. Do we do what every other campaign, Republican, Democrat, does, and that is establish a super PAC and go out hustling money from billionaires and Wall Street? We agree with you. represent Wall Street. We don't represent the billionaire class. And we asked, what we did is something pretty radical. We said to the American people, we need your help. Stand with us as we fight for the middle class against the big money interest. And what happened then was really extraordinary. Over the last 11 and a half months, we have raised and received over 7 million individual campaign contributions. That is more individual campaign contributions than any campaign in American history. Anyone know the average? There it is. That's the average. $27. Now that is unto itself revolutionary. That is what this campaign is about. It is indicative of the fact that if you stand up for the people, you can raise enough money to win without being dependent on big money interest. Secretary Clinton chose another approach. She established several super PACs, and in the last filing period, her largest super PAC received $25 million from special interests, including $15 million from Wall Street. Now, every candidate who receives money from Wall Street or the drug companies, they always say the same thing. Yes, I'm receiving millions of dollars, but it won't influence me. They're just giving me the money because, well, I don't know why they're giving us the money, but, it's certainly not going to have any impact on me. You can say a lot about Wall Street. You can call them greedy. You can call them reckless. You can note that their behavior is often illegal. But you know what? They are not dummies. They know what they are investing in. Now, in addition to receiving $15 million from Wall Street, Secretary Clinton has given a number of speeches on Wall Street behind closed doors for $225,000 a speech. Now, that is a good day's pay, I will tell you that. And I kind of think that if you get $225,000 for an hour speech or maybe a 20-minute speech or whatever it may be, it must be a speech of extraordinary brilliance, don't you think? It must be a speech which probably solves all of the planetary crises that we face. It is a speech written in beautiful Shakespearean prose, and I think any speech that great should be released to the American people. Now, Secretary Clinton says, well, she is prepared to release those transcripts if other people do. All right. Are you ready for a dramatic announcement? All right, this is it. I am here tonight, prepared to release the transcripts of all of the speeches that I gave before Wall Street. And because I believe in transparency, I want you to see it first. You ready? All right, here you go. Here they are. I just don't understand why Wall Street has not invited me. I'm a sensitive guy. Invited Hillary Clinton, but they didn't invite me, and I don't want $2.25. I don't want $2. I don't want anything. But I do want the opportunity to tell them to their faces that their greed and their recklessness and their illegal behavior has done massive harm to our country. And I do want to tell them, when a handful of financial institutions has so much economic and political power, top 6 financial institutions have assets equivalent to 58% of the GDP of this country. They issue 2/3 of the credit cards, 1/3 of the mortgages. And 3 out of the 4 largest banks today are bigger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail. So if my telephone rings and if Wall Street invites me to speak before them, the message is we will break them up. Now, all of you know that one of the very important aspects of a president's job is conducting foreign and military policy. Very important part of what a president does. Back in 2002, there was a debate in Congress on the most important foreign policy issue in the modern history of America, and that was President Bush, Vice President Cheney wanted us to invade Iraq. I was in the House, Secretary Clinton was then Senator from New York in the Senate. We listened very carefully to what Bush had to say, what Cheney had to say. I did not believe what they had to say. I voted against that war. Senator Clinton heard the same, got the same information as I did. She cast her vote for the war, one of the worst foreign policy blows. There is an issue out there which has impacted the entire country, Pennsylvania, I think, more than most states. And that is our disastrous trade policies that have cost us millions of decent paying jobs. Here in Pennsylvania and in my state of Vermont and all over this country, we used to have factories that produced products. And then came the trade agreements, NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, and other trade agreements. And I'm here to tell you that I voted against every one of these disastrous trade agreements. It didn't take a genius to figure out that these trade agreements were written by corporate America with the sole purpose of shutting down plants in America, moving to cheap labor countries all over the world and bringing their products back in here. The result of those trade agreements in Pennsylvania, in Vermont, and all over this country has been the loss of millions of good, decent paying jobs. And right here tonight, these guys over here, this is the Communication Workers of America. And I am here to support their strike against Verizon. Because what Verizon is doing to them is exactly what major corporation after major corporation has done to the working people of this country. Verizon is an enormously profitable corporation, and yet they're refusing to sit down and negotiate a fair contract with the CWA. What they want is these workers to give back health care benefits that they have earned. And they want to outsource call center jobs from America to some low-wage countries abroad. Meanwhile, while they want to outsource American jobs, while they want to cut benefits for American workers, they have enough money to pay their CEO $18 million a year. So I say to Verizon, do the right thing, sit down and negotiate a fair contract with the union. But the bottom line is that we need a trade policy in this country in which corporate America invests in Pennsylvania, in Vermont, not in China or other low-wage countries. I have opposed all of these trade agreements. Secretary Clinton has supported virtually every one of these disastrous trade agreements. In my view, the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. It has got to be raised to a living wage, $15 an hour. And I am proud that all over the country we are beginning to see real movement toward $15 an hour in California, Oregon, New York State. I have been on picket lines with fast food workers who are fighting for $15 and a union, and I'm proud of that. Secretary Clinton supports a $12 minimum wage, not enough. There is another issue that is impacting our country, impacting the world, impacting Pennsylvania. And that is the fact that we are fighting now to make sure that we and future generations will have clean drinking water. And we will not have clean drinking water if we continue fracking. That is why I support a national ban on fracking. That is not the position of Secretary Clinton. In fact, when she was Secretary of State, she was actively involved in pushing the technology of fracking on countries all over the world. I am a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment. And in that capacity, I have spoken to scientists all over our country and all over the world. And I want everybody here to know, the debate is over. Climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity. Climate change is already doing devastating harm in our country and around the world. And what the scientists tell us is if we do not get our act together in the near future, if we do not transform our energy system, a bad situation today will become much, much worse in years to come. We have a moral obligation. We are the custodians of the one planet that we have. It's called planet Earth. We have a moral responsibility to leave this planet in a way that is healthy and habitable to our children and future generations. And that means That means that we have got to tell the fossil fuel industry that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. That we will transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. I am proud to tell you that I have introduced the most comprehensive legislation on climate change ever introduced in the Senate, which, among many other things, calls for a tax on carbon. Unfortunately, that is not the position of Secretary Clinton. And on that issue, we have got to recognize this is not a time for incremental change. The future of the planet is at stake. We have got to be bold, and we need a tax on carbon. A great nation is not judged by the number of millionaires and billionaires it has. It is not judged by the size of its defense budget or the number of nuclear weapons it has. A great nation is judged from a moral perspective on how it treats the weakest and most vulnerable people in it. Here is a truth that the media does not talk about terribly much, and that is that we have millions of senior citizens, disabled veterans, and people with disabilities who are trying to get by on $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? You're right. You know what? Nobody can get by on $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. Now, the Republican response to this crisis is they want to cut Social Security. And while they want to cut Social Security, they want to give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 1%. I've got some bad news for them. It ain't gonna happen that way. In fact, we're gonna do exactly the opposite. We are going to expand Social Security benefits. And we are going to do it by lifting the cap on taxable income. Right now, right now, you got somebody making $5 million a year, somebody making $118,000. They're both contributing the same amount into the Social Security Trust Fund. You lift that cap, you start at $250,000 and above, have people making $1 million a year contribute the same percentage of their income as somebody making $50,000. You can significantly expand Social Security benefits. That is my view. And throughout this campaign, time and time again, I have challenged Secretary Clinton. Are you prepared to come aboard legislation that lifts the cap and expands Social Security benefits for seniors and disabled vets? And time after time after time, she has waffled, not given a straightforward answer. Secretary Clinton, join us. Lift the cap, expand Social Security benefits. This campaign is going to win because we are listening to the American people, not just wealthy campaign contributors. We are listening to women. And women are telling me they are tired of working for 79 cents on the dollar compared to men.
want the whole damn dollar and their rights. And women are also tired. They're telling me they are tired of hearing all these Republicans running all over this country talking about family values. And we all know what their Republican family values are, and those family values, quote unquote, are telling every woman in Pennsylvania and in the United States of America she cannot control her own body. I disagree. Those Republican family values are telling our gay brothers and sisters they do not have the right to be married. I disagree. Now, Jane and I have been married for, almost 28 years. I got to remember my anniversary. Okay, I haven't forgotten the anniversary yet. It's good news. About a month to go. Okay. And we have 4 kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren. We believe in family values, but not Republican family values. And here is what our family values are. Our family values are, among other things, ending the international embarrassment of the United States being the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave. Here is the truth. We don't talk about it much, but in this campaign, and if elected president, not only are we going to talk about it, we're going to do something about it. But here is the truth. Here is the truth. Today in Pennsylvania, today in Vermont, women are giving birth to beautiful babies. That's the good news. Bad news is that if those women are working class or low-income women, you know what happens? They have to go back to work in many cases 1 week, 2 weeks after giving birth. They have to separate themselves from their beautiful babies because they need to go back to work to earn the income to take care of that baby and her family. That is not a family value. That's the opposite of a family value. That is why I will fight to pass legislation now in the Congress, 3 months paid family and medical leave. And again, getting back to the point that Joe Biden made today in the Times, thinking big, thinking aspirationally. You tell me why the United States should be the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave. This campaign is listening to young people. And one of the real satisfactions that I have felt throughout this campaign is when we began the general mythology out there from the pundits and the media and everybody else. Well, young people, you know, they're not really much interested in politics. They're not interested in government. They're very busy on their video games or partying. That's right. Well, turns out that was not quite true. It turns out that young people know they are the future of our country, and they want to shape the future of our country. And young people know, and this is again a truth, although an unpleasant truth, young people know that unless we transform this economy, the young generation today, for the first time in the modern history of America, will likely have a lower standard of living than their parents. Now, my father came to this country from Poland. All right, let's hear it for the Poles. All right. Came to this country without a nickel in his pocket. He never made any money. We never had any money. But he worked hard. My mom worked hard in order to fulfill, in a sense, the American dream, which is that your kids do better than you do. And what the young people are saying today is they will not allow that American dream to die. And what young people are also telling me, in very loud numbers, is they do not understand why it is that when their parents and their teachers and their whole community said, go out and get the best education you can. Get the best education that you can, because we live in a highly competitive global economy. And if you're going to make it into the middle class, you need a good education. And young people went out and they got that education. But then they found themselves $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt. We should not be punishing people for getting an education. We should be rewarding them. Again, thinking about what Joe Biden said, thinking big, thinking aspirationally, think for a moment, how crazy is it that we are punishing people who in some cases will be paying off that debt for decades? For what crime did they commit? They went out and got an education. That's not a crime. That's a good thing. Today, as many of you know, a college degree is in many respects the equivalent of what a high school degree was 40 or 50 years ago. 40 or 50 years ago, you went out, you got a high school degree, you had a very good chance to get a decent middle-class job. That's the fact. Today, in most respects, that is not the case, and people need a college degree because the economy and technology has changed. That's a fact. We need more education today to make it into the middle class. That is why I believe that when we talk about public education today, it's not good enough to talk about the first grade through the 12th grade. We have got to make public colleges and universities tuition free. My friends, my opponents may think this is a radical, off-the-wall idea. It is not. It is a sober, common-sense idea. Germany does it, Scandinavia does it, countries all over the world invest in their young people because they know that the future of their country is dependent on a well-educated workforce. Not only do we need to make public colleges and universities tuition-free, we need to lower student debt. We need to allow people to refinance their student debt at the lowest interest rates they can find. Now, I am often criticized for thinking too big, too radically. Bernie, they say, how are you going to pay for this? You want to have free tuition in public colleges and universities, you want to lower student debt. Let me tell you how we're going to pay for it. We're going to put a tax on Wall Street speculation. Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior helped destroy this economy. Congress without my vote, helped to bail them out. Now it is Wall Street's time to help the middle class of this country. This campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. There are 11 million undocumented people in this country. Many of them are being exploited on the job because when you have no legal rights, your employer takes advantage of you. We need comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship. This campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And they are asking a very simple question. How does it happen that we can spend trillions of dollars on a war in Iraq we never should have gotten into? We can spend billions of dollars rebuilding the infrastructure of Afghanistan and Iraq, but somehow we can't invest in inner cities throughout this country. And they are right. This is the United States of America. What is happening in Flint, Michigan, and in communities all over this country is not acceptable. Children should not be drinking poisoned water. We have got to invest in affordable housing. We have got to invest to make sure that our public school system is the best in the world. We have got to make sure that our kids who graduate high school have jobs and education rather than jails and incarceration. This campaign is listening to a people whose voices are almost never heard, and that is the Native American community. Anybody who has studied history for 5 minutes knows that the Native American people were lied to, they were cheated, and their treaties negotiated with them were broken from the earliest days of the United States. We owe the Native American people a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. Among many other things that they have given to us is the knowledge, the absolute knowledge, that we as human beings are part of nature, that we must live with nature, not destroy nature. But today on reservations and in Native American communities throughout this country, Native Americans are living in extreme poverty, unemployment sky high, suicide rate among young people off the charts. If elected president, we will change our relationship to the Native American people. Here is thinking big and thinking outside of the box. Question. Here is a question. Every major country on earth, UK, France, Germany, Holland, Scandinavia, Canada, you name it, every major country on earth except one guarantees health care to all people as a right. You are living in that one country that does not guarantee health care. And it is time we change that. President Obama, Vice President Biden have done a great job in helping us pass the Affordable Care Act, which has done a lot of good things for this country. We have ended this private insurance company obscenity of pre-existing conditions. 17 million Americans now have health insurance who otherwise would not. Young people are able to stay on their parents' insurance plan, and we have ended discrimination against women in the pricing of the health care that they buy. But despite the gains of the Affordable Care Act, 29 million Americans still have no health insurance, and many of you today are underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments. And every person here and every person in our country is getting ripped off unconscionably by the drug companies who charge us by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Here is crazy. You want to hear crazy? All right. Crazy is that 1 out of 5 Americans who go to their doctor and get a prescription cannot afford to fill that prescription. Crazy is senior citizens in Pennsylvania cutting their pills in half because they can't afford the medicine they need. Crazy is the top 3 drug companies in America last year making $45 billion in profits. The United States spends far more per person on health care than do the people of any other country. The time is long overdue for us to pass a Medicare for all single-payer program. Healthcare has got to be a right of every man, woman, and child in this country. All of you know that the history of the United States is a history of struggle and the understanding that real change never takes place from the top on down, always from the bottom on up. That is the history of the trade union movement. When workers stood up and said, we're not animals, we're not beasts of burden, we are going to come together and form a union. It is the history of the civil rights movement. When African Americans and their allies said that in America we will not tolerate segregation, racism, and bigotry. It is the history of the women's movement. Many people have forgotten that 100 years ago, not a long period of time, women in America did not have the right to vote, did not have the right to get the education they wanted or the jobs they desired 100 years ago. But women and their male allies stood up. Some went to jail, some went on hunger strikes, some died in the struggle. But together they said, in America, women will not be second-class citizens. Struggle and change is the history of the gay movement in America, where the gay community and their straight allies fought decades and decades of bigotry and hatred to finally proclaim loudly and clearly that people in America have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. Change is about young people 3 or 4 years ago, and not so young people working in the fast food industry, who said to the world, we can't make it on $7.25 an hour. We need a $15 an hour minimum wage. And they went out on strike, and they stood up and they fought back. And because of their efforts, 2 years ago in Seattle, $15 an hour. Los Angeles, San Francisco, $15 an hour. Oregon, California, New York, $15 an hour. That is how change always takes place. And right now, we are at a pivotal moment in history. The establishment, the big money interests, want you to believe that we cannot bring about change, that status quo will never, ever be changed. But the American people are looking all around them, and they are saying, sorry, this massive level of income and wealth inequality, not acceptable. The decline of the middle class, not acceptable. Young people deeply in debt for going to college, not acceptable. And infrastructure collapsing, not acceptable. The United States having the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country, not acceptable. Women making 79 cents on the dollar, not acceptable. The United States being the only major country not to guarantee health care to all, not acceptable. And when people start to look at the possibility of where we can go, that is the beginning of real change. And that is what this campaign is about. It's not just electing a president, it is reforming, bringing real profound change to our country. In a few days, next Tuesday, there is going to be a very, very important Democratic primary right here in Pennsylvania. What we have learned in this campaign is that when the voter turnout is high, we win. Let us see Pennsylvania on Tuesday have the largest voter turnout in its history in a Democratic primary. Let us see Pennsylvania help lead this country into the political revolution. Thank you all.
Well, that was another badass Bernie speech, and if I'm not mistaken, he said some. I like this. That's not acceptable. I want to get that clip. That I like that. That it's unacceptable. There's a lot of things unacceptable right now about the way our government functions, about the way our country is. I think we all agree on that. Just get some audio set here. That was awesome. How y'all doing? It's a great conversation. More than 400 of you in the chat right now. Thank you so much. Or watching right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you, chat mods, monitors, everybody in BTV that does this work, that makes what we are what we are. It's not me. It's everybody else. I just push a few buttons. There's so many people in the volunteer group now that do so many different things, and it's wonderful, and they're turning it into a beautiful, beautiful thing. Just like Bernie has transformed the people into an active bunch of very enraged democratic socialists. Actually, it's the new party, and the establishment will figure that out. But before we go, and I'm going to end with something I ended earlier today during the newsroom, and I want to go with it again. Because of some of the things Bernie said when he talked about Native Americans and he talked about our relationship with the earth, he talked about our relationship with the environment. We are that part of that. To destroy it is asinine, just absolutely retarded. And yes, that word perfectly fits there. I'm sorry. We are being that way with the earth, with the environment. Okay. Tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Wow, look what a bunch of tons of wow. Hi, everybody. And Jessie came back just in time to say goodbye. Hi, Jessie. She was out all day having people look at her brain and then getting her hair done and looking all nice. And yeah, so yeah. Looks like she's smiling and laughing, so the brain must be okay. And the hair came out good. So we're all right. Yes. Anyway, tomorrow, newsroom, 9 a.m. It will be a Frack Off Friday. It'll just be me, but I got all sorts of stuff to talk about. All sorts of stuff. Joe Biden, we're going to cover a little bit of that because we're going to bring it in there. I love the integrity of that guy. You know? I love the integrity of that guy. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about douchebag Bill and what he had to say, because apparently millennials are responsible for the spot we're in, because if only they'd voted back in 2010 and given a shit then, and hey Bill, they weren't old enough to vote, you dumb fuck. They weren't. But anyway, not all of them. Anyway, we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about where we sit with the environment, the 10-year plan we need to put into action, how we do that when we've got this crap going down with voter suppression, and what we do about that. And I think Bernie Sanders gave us that answer, and he said it in his speech, and he said it in a letter he sent us, right, about what the plan is. Every delegate counts. Right now, it's about getting as much power as we can, as much leverage as we can. Every delegate counts. Just like every vote counts, every delegate counts, because delegates are power. Right? So stand strong. Remember that we hold the power because we are the people, our government, our place. Right? They work for us. They just kind of forgot what they're supposed to be doing. They got a little high and mighty with their jobs. I want to say one thing to one gentleman. Delate Bluma, that is your name, your YouTube name. I will play your song Saturday. I absolutely promise. I have to go out with something else today, simply because of what we talked about. Just because. We have to start thinking. We have to get everybody, and globally we are, but we have to work on the indoctrinated within the establishment. We got to get everybody thinking about the global initiative, right? Bernie's talking about all inclusiveness. We have to work together to save this planet. We have to work together to undo the damage done by our profit-centered establishment regime. And that's going to take cooperation and working together. It's going to take being smarter than the establishment. I think that's what we learned with New York. All right. And we're licking our wounds right now. But I want you to understand that the narrative they're painting on the results is far worse than reality. We are in good place. Bernie is 2 percentage points down where he needs to be still. Okay. That's all. We've got California coming up, Connecticut coming up, Pennsylvania coming up. We got all sorts of states coming up where we can earn back those delegates. Every delegate counts. And when we go to the convention, that is where we wield our power and get as much change as we possibly can, one way or the other. And that is exactly what Bernie has asked us to do. Focus on what needs to be done. Phone bank damn asses off. I think they're working on Connecticut, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's huge. really got to push there. All right. Pennsylvania, man, you got all this fracking going on. Really don't want that stuff. Oh, look, I ran out of comments. My bad. Get that out of there. Ja. Okay, so, yes, fracking is a huge issue. It is a huge issue to think it through. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Here comes another sink. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. All right, you guys, it's been fun. Fantastic conversation. It's really nice when we have a great conversation. Those of you who don't know, who are new to this, what we do is called engagement broadcasting, and it means we manage the conversation. We make sure that the trolls are hugged and then sent on their way if they won't behave. We make sure that we keep the conversation about the topics. And it's not like we're censoring anything. It's just we try to have a good conversation with intelligent words and complete sentences and stuff. And we work really hard at that. Best conversation on the net. And that's because of the massive volunteer effort that happens behind the scenes, the organization of those volunteers, the scheduling of those volunteers, the creation of all the artwork, the putting together of these shows. And just so everybody knows, they're also working on a real business, an LLC, with all the right documentation so that eventually we can take these volunteers and move them over to a nonprofit where we can start paying wages and build this into something sustainable, right? You want to talk about big ideas? We're building the network for the people, the network of the 99. We're doing it with a bunch of volunteers in a completely different way than it's ever been done before. Just like Bernie's campaign, just like Bernie's ideas, it's big, it's huge. And without you, we wouldn't need to exist. So thank you so much for being here. We are going to leave with Symphony of Science, We Are All Connected. This is something that's been around for a long time. A lot of you may have seen it probably already. I love it. I could watch it over and over and over again. Whoever built this, whoever the team who made this, it's absolutely beautiful. This is all the way back from 2009. But this is the point. We are all connected. And we're all on this one little ball. And we fucked it up. And we need to repair it fast. Never forget that. I'll see you tomorrow. Feel the burn, everybody.
We're all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the rest of the universe atomically.
I think nature's imagination is so much greater than man's. He's never gonna let us relax.
We live in an in-between universe where things change alright, but according to patterns, rules, or as we call them, laws of nature.
I'm this guy standing on a planet. Really, I'm just a speck. Compared with a star. The planet is just another speck. To think about all of this, to think about the vast emptiness of space. There's billions and billions of stars, billions and billions of specks.
The beauty of a living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together. The cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself.
Across the sea of space, the stars are others. We've traveled this way before, and there is much to be learned.
We're all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the rest of the universe atomically.
I find it elevating and exhilarating to discover that we live in a universe which permits the evolution of molecular machines as intricate and subtle as we.
I know that the molecules in my body are traceable to phenomena in the cosmos. That makes me want to grab people in the street and say, have you heard this?
The beauty of a living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together. The cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to
to know itself.
There's this tremendous mass of waves all over in space, which is the light bouncing around the room, going from one thing to the other, and it's all really there, really there. But you gotta stop and think about it, about the complexity, to really get the pleasure. It's all really there, really there. The inconceivable nature of nature.
To think about all of this, to think about the vast emptiness of space. There's billions and billions of stars, billions and billions of specks. The beauty of a living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together. The cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff, and we are a way of the cosmos to know itself.
Across the sea of space, the stars are other sun. We have traveled this way before, and there is much to be learned.
Huge